Sunday, the 31st of March, listener, or as we call it, Easter Sunday. Hello, Adrian Clarke.
Yeah, happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you.
You get lots of eggs?
There are a lot of eggs.
Do you have a favourite?
What's my favourite egg?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean... This is the chat we should have done about a month before Easter in the hope of getting eggs sent in.
Thrown it there, haven't they?
But, yeah.
So much
No,
choice.
I mean, but that's not what Easter's about for me. Tim Spiers is here. Hi, Tim.
Hi, James.
Did you get any eggs? Really?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Sorry about that.
Disappointing.
Yes, I'm surprised.
Got a massive fruit and nut. Yeah, happy days.
Oh, nice.
Really? Fruit and nut? An egg with fruit and nut? Is that what you got?
Got a fruit and nut Easter egg.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that they made such
I
things.
do, yeah.
Crikey, what will they think of next? Anyway, sorry, listener. Sorry, it's Easter Monday for you and you're past all this egg chat. I should say that Daniel Storey is going to be along with us in a second or two. He's currently sat in a car park outside the Etihad, having witnessed the raw drama that was Man City 0, Arsenal also 0. Not much happened in that game at the Etihad. Lots did elsewhere. Quick run through the scores, shall we, before we... Yeah? 32 goals scored on match day 30. 7 of them came Saturday lunchtime at St James's Park, where Newcastle had one of their classic 4-3s, coming from behind, actually, to beat West Ham. 3 o'clock, the bottom two were involved in comebacks as well. Sheffield United were 3-1 up against Fulham, but the Cottagers came roaring back and capped a 3-3 draw with a stunning goal from Rodrigo Muniz. Hands up who had Burnley managing to come back from a goal down away at Chelsea to tie 2-2 with just 10 men. The Clarets, not me, but they did. Elsewhere there was a draw as well at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest finishing 1-1 with Crystal Palace. Tim was there. Could be the last reference we have to that game in the show.
Jimbo.
Bournemouth beat Everton 2-1. Everton now 12 games without a win. Spurs beat Luton 2-1. And their rivals in the race for Champions League places, Aston Villa, stayed 3 clear of Tottenham, though, with a 2-0 victory themselves over Wolves in that derby. And Man United's hopes of reaching that competition got even thinner after their 1-1 draw at Brentford. Both goals in that, by the way, coming after the 90s. Sunday, early on, Liverpool had a 2-1 win against Brighton. And then Man City, Arsenal was, as mentioned, 0-0. And yet, that's where we'll begin. Opta tweeting post the final whistle at the Etihad that for the first time this season, their supercomputer now makes Liverpool the favourites for the title. We'll get our reaction to that very shortly. But first of all, events at the Etihad, live from his car in the car park outside the ground. It's Daniel Storey.
Yes, I feel sort of half David Brent Christmas specials and half Marion and Jeff. It's a Travelodge car park situation.
Very, very nice indeed. So, the experience that you had at the Etihad, not so much race for the title as kind of 90 minutes of gridlock. What was it like for you?
I think that's about right. I think Arsenal certainly got what they came for, and yet the oddity of the day and the oddity of a 3-team title race is that they end the day further away from the title than when they started it, despite getting the draw they wanted. I think this was a psychological victory in that they went through a period of about 3.5 years, they went through a period of about 6 years where they lost, I think, 15 out of 16 games against Manchester City, and taking 4 points off them this season is a big achievement, and the same as taking 4 points off Liverpool. But they probably needed to win today to win the league, and yet they played it in this low block, defending really, really well, subduing Haaland, subduing Foden, subduing De Bruyne, and really closed down City, who looks pretty frustrated. I think they brought on Grealish and Doku as this kind of agents of chaos attempted, and yet that didn't work either.
If Arsenal needed a win today to win the league, what about Man City? Where do they stand now?
Yeah, they are also further away. This had to be a win, I think, for them to seize control of the title race. And I think I said on the show a couple of weeks ago, the risk is that Liverpool's games, or toughest games, come in the last 3 or 4. And I think if they have a lead by that stage, the emotion of Klopp leaving will drive them through, and this result makes that far more likely. I was really disappointed with City. I thought in the first half they got Guardiola really high and they were stretching the game that way, and that was slightly working, but there was just too much of the kind of passing metronome, and then the moments they did create, they were incredibly wasteful in. Erling Haaland had one of those days. I know I heard Roy Keane talking about it as a kind of League Two standard gameplay. His finishing was pretty bad today as well, and that's normally the good part. So yeah, I mean, City were way off. Guardiola was clearly pretty frustrated after the game, and yeah, I think he was probably pretty impressed with how Arsenal nullified them.
You sound quite frustrated as well, Daniel.
Look, you always go to these sort of games wanting, having watched Newcastle West Ham on Saturday lunchtime, and you're not working the Saturday, then you go to a game like this and say, please live up to the hype. But look, they've 2 of the 3 games this season in the Premier League with the fewest shots on target were Manchester City, Arsenal, and Arsenal, Manchester City. And I think that probably proves that we have 2 styles here that can cancel each other out. It reminded of those sort of mid-noughties games between Liverpool and Chelsea, Mourinho and Benitez, S on a stick games. And look, sometimes that happens. The players aren't there solely to entertain us, although it's an entertainment sport. They're there because they're trying to do the best thing they can to win the league, and both managers did that, and it happened that they cancelled each other out. It wasn't a brilliant watch, I don't think, but it was kind of a necessary product of a title race, I think.
Well, Adrian, first of all, you're the only one of us here wearing Arsenal-branded leisure wear. So
I just don't wear anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
And why would you?
Yeah.
What did you make of it?
I thought it was a tough watch. It was an ugly game.
Even for Arsenal fans?
It was absolutely a tough watch because Arsenal aren't used to spending as long out of possession as they did in this game. But I think that was part of the game plan, clearly, to sacrifice a little bit of possession, to sit everybody behind the ball and to frustrate and negate Manchester City. And my overall reaction is that it's an absolutely massive step forward because at the Etihad, Arsenal have been annihilated year on year. Last season conceded 4 goals, I think 9 shots on target. The season before conceded 5 goals, 10 shots on target. Today, it was just the 1 shot on target, and I can't even remember the save from David Raya. So it represents, I think, a huge step forward in Arsenal's development as a team, and they have learned and found a way to live with the best teams around. And look, it's needs must against Manchester City. Arsenal aren't quite ready to go toe to toe with them and prevail at the Etihad, so they did what they had to do today. And I think a lot of Arsenal supporters will be particularly pleased at the streetwise nature of the performance. More fouls today from Arsenal than any other game this season.
Is that right?
Dishing out a little bit of their own medicine, I think, on Manchester City, who are obviously renowned for breaking up the rhythm of opponents, with these tactical fouls. Arsenal did it today.
Daniel was touching on their City's performance, what they brought or didn't bring to this matchup. 72% possession, 1 shot on target. Roy Keane describing Haaland's performance levels like a League Two player. Who would you point your finger at, Tim?
I mean, you could tell from Guardiola's team selection exactly what he wanted to do to control the game and have an awful lot of possession. He left his fun players out, Doku and Grealish and Alvarez, brought in Kovacic. But yeah, I think rightly a lot of praise will go to Arsenal for being the first team to stop City scoring at home for 3 years?
57 games,
57 games,
which is remarkable.
Incredible.
You have to pay credit to them for that. But it does also represent how City have dropped off a little bit. We've been waiting for them to click into top gear for a while now, and they still haven't done it yet. For me, they have laboured in quite a lot of games. I remember the Chelsea home game recently 1-1. Obviously, the Liverpool game away, where there was a really decent chunk of the match where they just disappeared and De Bruyne was taken off. And similar again here, really. It's April now, and they're leaving it very late to hit that top gear. I don't see it happening.
Do you agree with Opta's supercomputer and Daniel?
Yeah, do you know? Actually, I'd written that down. That I feel like this is the first time I feel like Liverpool are, I would say, just below strong favourites in what's a very I wouldn't call them strong favourites, but Daniel makes a really good point about their fixtures coming up.
Right.
They just keep finding a way to win, which City aren't doing at the moment.
They have United away in a week. They've got the derby coming up, but they have a terrific record with that. They do have Spurs early in May on the 4th and Villa the week after that.
Yeah, as an Arsenal follower, I'm looking at those games and thinking maybe the Spurs might be able to do Arsenal a favour, Aston Villa. Yeah, Liverpool are a strange team this season because obviously they score in loads of goals, they always do. But for me, without the ball, they're not that good at all. They've been very reliant on their goalkeepers, Alisson and now Kelleher. I think that without the ball, they are comfortably the weakest of the top three. And I'm maybe wrongly presuming that sooner or later there'll come a cropper and that someone will take advantage of that. But it doesn't look like happening anytime soon. You know, they dominated Brighton and deserved to win that game. Had over 30 shots. It's terrific, isn't it? So I would have a slight issue with the supercomputer because I don't think Liverpool are the best team. I still don't think they are. But they're in the best position now, no doubt about it.
Okay.
Adrian Clarke versus the supercomputer. That's the battle I want to see.
The game against Brighton is one which they've struggled with in recent years. This was only their second win in 8 meetings with the Seagulls. And it did look like this one might not go their way either when Danny Welbeck put Brighton ahead after just 90 seconds. But then Diaz and Salah eventually, after about 20-odd shots at goal, Salah making his first league start since New Year's Day, which might have explained his wayward aim. But anyway, a 2-1 victory. Everyone was raving afterwards about Liverpool's former Seagull, Alexis McAllister.
He was the one who set up the winner. It was a fantastically fast ball fired in by Szoboszlai from the right, which really caught Brighton unawares, I think. And they all immediately leapt towards McAllister and vacated space behind, which Salah sort of dropped in. And as soon as McAllister slipped the pass in, you knew exactly what was going to happen. People are talking a lot about the sort of morale and character of Liverpool and coming from behind. And 26 points from losing positions. That's 7 times they've come from behind to win. That's remarkable. And it does say a lot to their character and all that. But it also says a lot to their squad, I think. And I remember thinking in sort of September, October that they had the strongest sort of 20.
Okay.
They were using the most subs in the league at that time. I think they probably still are. The most goals and assists from subs. People like Harvey Elliott just coming on and making a difference every week. And we've seen with Quansah and Bradley, who are both making their 7th league starts for Liverpool today. And both just look so assured in what they've been asked to do. Real high pressure, high intensity stakes. And they every time I watch them, even Man United away, Quansah was one of Liverpool's best players in the first half. They just look so comfortable. It's a real testament to the academy there.
So are you team Adrian or team supercomputer on this?
On Liverpool's title chances?
No, but are they the best team then, do you think?
Are they the best team? I mean, at what?
Table says they are. But, yeah.
It's too close to call.
Yeah. They're 3 very good teams, aren't they? I do think those 2 players have been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But the real pressure games are to come. And we saw last year with Arsenal, with the younger players, they cracked a little bit towards the end. So we'll see. There's a lot of emotion at Anfield, and that can work one of both ways, can't it? It could work in their favour, or it could work against them ultimately. So yeah, look, I think that what happened today gives Liverpool a temporary advantage, but I still think there's plenty of life in this title race.
Of course, yeah.
Well, they're all flawed, these teams, which is what's made it such an exciting race. When Liverpool and City went head-to-head for 99, 98 points a couple of years ago, it was really boring as a title race, wasn't it? Because I think Liverpool won their last 9 games and still didn't win the league or something like that season. Yeah. Whereas they've all got little flaws this season, which will keep it going right to the end.
And if you feel, Adrian, that Arsenal will be happy with the point then, even though they've dropped 2 points back from Liverpool. But the question I was asking Tim as well, what do you think Pep will be scratching his head about tonight?
I think just a lack of inspiration, wasn't there, from them? I think if I was a City supporter or if I was Pep, I'd be really disappointed with that performance because they didn't really stretch Arsenal at all. I think they only had 4 touches inside the Arsenal box in the first half. They had tons in the second, but didn't manufacture a single shot that tested David Raya.
Was that City or was that Arsenal?
I think I think Arsenal defended superbly. I tip my cap to all of the players. They worked really hard. Gabriel and Saliba, I think, have cemented their reputation justifiably as the best partnership at centre back in the Premier League. They pocketed Haaland with ease, didn't they? And I think that the fullbacks did pretty well, up against players that were given a lot of the ball. The wide players were fed pass after pass after pass, but they didn't really do that much with it, did they? So, yeah, I think Arsenal would take the draw. They could have passed the ball better. I don't think they looked that confident in possession. The counter-attacks lacked a little bit of conviction. It wasn't a perfect performance, but I think out of possession, Mikel Arteta couldn't have asked for much more from his team. And look, this is new to Arsenal fans. We haven't had a team that are this good out of possession
since the days of
the Invincibles. You go back that far. No other Arsenal side can touch this group in that regard. It's just to get to that next level. To be considered favourites in the Premier League, Arsenal have to, I suppose, go to stadiums like the Etihad and dominate. They're not quite ready to do that yet.
Well, or obviously take the chances on the break. I thought the couple they had, 2 or 3 times they had it in City's third in the first half, they just looked like this is such a rare opportunity for us. We need to make this the perfect attacking move, and they were just you're shouting at them to shoot. It's like the old Arsenal days, just shoot for goodness sake.
Look, the Jesus half chances in the first half, sticks one of those away. You say it's a perfect 1-0 away win. Look, this is the second time in the season Arsenal have shut out Manchester City. They had pretty much no efforts on goal at the Emirates Stadium either. So I think they'll be thrilled at finding a formula to curb City. It's just, is that going to be enough to take them to the title? No, it's not. They're going to have to kick on now and produce another winning streak, aren't they?
But they were schooled last year. That 4-1 in April last year, there was a real chasm between the teams. And you mentioned about Saliba. I mean, obviously he wasn't playing that night. No. Obviously Rice wasn't there. They make such a difference. But from getting schooled and beaten 3 times by City last season, they played them 3 times this year and gone and beaten with the Community Shield, which shows you their progress.
Must be particularly sweet for Arteta against his former mentor, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice. Midweek, they go again. Arsenal play Luton. Liverpool get a visit from Sheffield United. Man City host Aston Villa. We'll talk about Villa and all the teams who are in action on Saturday after this. More Arsenal news. While Arsenal men were up at the Etihad, Arsenal women beat Chelsea to take the Conti Cup. An extra time goal from Stina Blackstenius sealing it. Earlier in the game, Frida Maanum collapsed and was stretchered off. Adrian, what's the word on?
Well, as we speak, she seems to be okay. She's in a stable condition. She's talking. She's okay. But look, I didn't see it because I was working on the City Arsenal game. But it sounded scary, and I think the players did very well to regroup really and focus on the job in hand. Because the last time Arsenal women played Chelsea, they were played off the park at Stamford Bridge in the WSL. So it's a really good win for them. Massive for Jonas Eideveld, the head coach, because he's under a little bit of pressure. The team's definitely underperformed.
A little bit of pressure from Emma Hayes at the final whistle.
I did see that, and I thought it was really ungracious of Emma Hayes. I mean, imagine if it had been the other way around. I just think it's bang out of order. No matter what the beef was, I'm led to believe it was over the multi-ball system or whatnot.
Passions run high on that.
I just think you just got to shake hands and move on. Just be gracious. Fake it if you have to. But that was a bad look, I think, from Emma Hayes, who's not used to losing, I guess, is she?
I guess not. I do quite like a managerial spat, a Conte Tuchel, for example. A Jose and Wenger. That was a bit of shoving. I bet you felt differently about that shoving.
No, I always enjoy it. I do enjoy it. In a funny kind of way, I kind of enjoyed this. I particularly liked Jonas's reaction, was sort of, what are you doing? It was a sort of strange look that he gave her. But yeah, look, good win for Arsenal. And look, it's not going to be a quadruple for Chelsea women, is it?
There you go. You can hear more about that in Full Time Europe, the Athletics Women's Football Podcast. The Athletics Euro podcast, the Totally Football Show European edition, will be with you this Tuesday. Amongst other things, we'll be discussing Xavi Alonso's decision not to go to any of the clubs that would like him to go to them and stay at Bayer Leverkusen, who have pretty much now sealed the title because Bayern, their closest, in inverted commas, rivals, lost to Dortmund this weekend. We'll hear about that from Rafa. Get all the news from James Horncastle, Alvaro Romeo, and Julien Laurens as well. A rare media outing for him. Very good. Back to the Premier League. Hey-ho. Saturday lunchtime. Newcastle 4, West Ham 3. A game that West Ham were leading 3-1. And then Newcastle happened to them. Amazing stat. They were talking about Liverpool's bounce back ability. This is the first time that Newcastle had come from behind to win a game in any competition all season.
Blimey, that is surprising because they've been pretty chaotic for a little while now.
Yeah.
You would have expected that to come up. This was a suitably bonkers game.
Yeah, substitutions were key. Is that fair? Barnes coming on for Newcastle and Phillips coming on for West Ham.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a tweet that did the rounds yesterday. Poor old Calvin. Someone called Charlie Fry, a West Ham fan, at 2:02, said, "Oh no, Phillips is coming on." Bearing in mind West Ham are 3-1 up at this point. 4-3 Newcastle incoming.
No,
Which was obviously picked up on after. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I'm not sure when Phillips will next be making an appearance after his reaction to some catcalls when he left the stadium.
Yeah, but I don't blame him. Do you know how long it takes for players to come out to get on the team bus? It's at least an hour.
Right.
At least. Like Adama Traore take up to 2 hours with showering himself. Like, we used to wait for these players for interviews.
Lathering those arms.
We need to get rid of the oil, you see. It takes a while to come up. So anyway, some idiot has obviously waited a long time just to shout some abuse at Calvin Phillips. And yeah, he's reacted, and of course he shouldn't react and whatever, but I don't blame him. He's just given him the finger and walked on. I mean,
if you're in that kind of so he's had what, 8 games so far. He's had 2 yellow cards, 1 red, conceded a penalty, an assist for an own goal, hasn't assisted for the Hammers or scored for the Hammers. So you think you'd be a little bit more careful.
And true, and it was Barnes who wriggled free of him for the winning goal as well. Although I must say, yes, he's given away a penalty here, but
come on, that was a ludicrous decision. No, it's a foul the other way, isn't it? It's for that to go to VAR and still be given. I thought was a joke. I didn't think it was a very good weekend for the officials. I think there was a few rogue decisions in there, but no, he's had a disaster. I don't think he should get any more punishment. Calvin Phillips he's reacted. The fans probably, it's what he wanted. He's goading him into it, wasn't he? So he's got his little clip for social media. I think just let it go now. But no, the story really is the comeback from Newcastle and Harvey Barnes, sort of who's been in and out of the team. Being absolutely brilliant off the bench. And he wasn't really supposed to come on, was he, at that point? I think it was an enforced change. It wasn't tactical genius on Eddie Howe's part. It was I can't remember who it was.
It was Almiron.
Yeah, Almiron who came off injured, didn't he? So it wasn't part of the game plan to bring him on at that stage, but he did superbly. And look, Newcastle from substitutes have profited massively this season. 13 Premier League goals have been scored by Magpies subs. That's more than any other team.
Is that right, Adrian?
It is, yeah. So,
I mean, where do West Ham sit on that table?
Don't know, but yeah,
not very high.
No. Well, West Ham fans are annoyed because they took Antonio off, and he'd been having a very good game. He was that outlet for them. He could hold the ball up. You take him off, it sort of invites a little bit of pressure, and that's what happened.
Well, Newcastle make a lot of subs because they get so many injuries. Just the 3 here. Lascelles has done his ACL today.
No way.
They said so, which 1 week after Botman did his, which is just incredible misfortune. It's been a story of injuries, and who can cope best this season with these gluts that every team seems to be having, but Newcastle, I think, have probably had it worse than anybody now. That's a horrendous look.
Another player who will be absent for their next game, which will be on Tuesday, will be man of the match, Anthony Gordon, who, as he was being nominated for the award, was sent off for kicking the ball away, picking up a second yellow. So he'll be suspended for Tuesday's game, which is against his former side, Everton.
Okay, yeah, he'll be disappointed about that, won't he? Yeah, look, he's had a good season, but it opens the door, doesn't it, for Harvey Barnes to start that game, to maybe continue on his form. Lucas Paquetá, I think, had a great contribution, great through ball for Antonio's goal, and the quick free kick, I loved it because, was it Fabian Schär who went down? Basically just got brushed in the face and went down to try and get play to stop. and the referee didn't buy it, and I love that, and they paid a heavy price for it. So yeah, I'd like to see a little bit of quick thinking, and Paquetá did it to good effect there.
I'd have been interested to hear what St James's Park would have been like if it had stayed at 3-1, because there's been a lot of rumbles recently about where they go from here, and is Eddie Howe still the man? It kind of felt like they needed that. They haven't felt that sort of emotion for a little while.
Yeah, I thought when I saw the score, because I wasn't watching it live at the time, when I saw the score 3-1, I thought, how might it go? There was that kind of situation where it was such a bad result that they might start to press that button early on him. And now, of course, you think, well, they won't do that. But the bottom line is, I think it's now 10 times this season they've conceded 3 or more goals. And there's no sign that Newcastle are improving. I know that they've got all these injuries, and that is a factor. But organisation was the thing. That's what made them so good last year. They were a tough nut to crack. Now they're really, really easy to open up. He's got to show, I think, to the Newcastle fans, to the board, he's got to show between now and the end of the season that he knows how to fix the problem, because it won't go away. It won't.
Good news for them is that they are playing shot shy Everton on Tuesday. And they've moved to just a point behind West Ham. West Ham lying 7th, a point behind them are Newcastle in 8th. A little bit further up, you got the race for top 4/5 AK Champions League places. Villa currently lying 4th on 59 points. Spurs 3 points behind them with a game in hand. And then a long way back, it's Man United on 48. Tim, your Wolves face Villa this weekend.
Yeah.
Saturday tea time.
Little West Midlands derby.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not the biggest derby around those parts, but it's still, it means something.
All right. And Wolves played well, but Villa played better.
Yes, that's very well summed up. Yeah, Wolves surprisingly played well, given that they haven't got a huge amount of injuries at this point, but it's very much to key players, and without Neto and Hwang and Cunha and Bellegarde, they're real down to the bare bones. So they tried another kid up front, Chiwonyi, an 18-year-old, for his first start, after Nathan Fraser was the one who started against Coventry in the Cup a couple of weeks ago, which we don't like to talk about anymore. But they played surprisingly well. Ryan Ait-Nouri's really come to the fore recently, but he had a fantastic chance from 6 yards, which he spurned at 0-0. I think he was surprised he wasn't. Maybe he thought he was going to be flagged offside, because he approached it in a very sort of calm and cool manner, and just had a bit of a swash at the ball and missed the target from 6 yards. And after that, Villa didn't have to really be at their best. Scored either side of the break, and a fairly regulation win for them, and an important one. Keeps them 3 points ahead of Spurs.
And tough couple of results. They had that 4-0 defeat to Spurs. And the 1-1 draw with the Hammers, and they've got Man City next. So, 3 points behind Villa, eager for them to slip up. Spurs, who were 2-1 winners against Luton Saturday afternoon. Of course, Spurs conceded first. Tai Chong with the opening goal. But then Spurs came back, watched on benevolently by David Pleat, who was there.
Okay.
Yeah, nice to see him.
It's the David Pleat derby, isn't it?
It is the David Pleat derby, yeah.
It was another good substitute appearance, wasn't it? Harvey Barnes wasn't the only sub to make a big impact. I think Brennan Johnson was the star of the show. I don't know whether it was tactical or not, but the substitution of Kulusevski for Brennan Johnson at half time was the game's turning point. A stretch play, and he's been really good off the bench the whole season. Brennan Johnson. I
thought he'd had a slow start, but is he now finding his feet?
He was, yeah.
Well, he was having to play at that point, because they had their injury crisis before Christmas.
And he did okay from the start. He was even quite a purple patch of form, but with Richarlison back and Son fit again or available, he's sort of been pushed back to the bench. But he came on and made a terrific impact. Lovely run and cross for the own goal, and then he set up the winner as well. He's down this right-hand side, where the dugouts are at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He's owned that part of the pitch. hasn't he? During the last 3 or 4 months, I don't think there's a player that has owned a single part of the pitch better than Brennan Johnson has down that right-hand side. He's been phenomenal. He's just charged up and down it and either scored or assisted to stacks of goals, or at least it seems that way.
Yeah, he's up to 7 assists now, which is a really good return. Since, like you said, he was struggling a little bit. He did stick out in terms of quality. I think he really struggled with that adaptation from being at Forest, where he was very much a counter-attacking player who wouldn't see much of the ball. And now, obviously, Spurs in the final third, they see a lot of the ball, and it's about breaking down low blocks, and that's not something he's really been used to in his career. But he's adapted really well. I've got to say, Son here, he's, you talk about players coming back knackered from international break. He played 90 minutes at home to Thailand, and then 90 minutes away at Thailand in a double header for South Korea. He scored in both games, obviously, and then comes back and scores the winner here in the 86th minute and just doesn't look tired at all. He's now become the 5th highest goal scorer in Tottenham's history. He's entering legendary status.
Magnificent. Maybe he'll add to his tally on whatever night Spurs are playing.
Wednesday.
Tuesday. And it's away at West Ham. It's a big game. In fact, they've got a tough run of fixtures coming up to Tottenham. West Ham on Tuesday, then Newcastle, then Man City, then Arsenal and Liverpool. Oh, my word.
Some good games in prospect there. Good look, there's never a bad game with Spurs, is there, at the moment?
Yeah, I agree.
They are exciting to watch.
You can't say that about Man United.
Oh, I disagree.
Although
they're great to watch.
This version of Man United are great fun.
Well, so the Brentford Man United game late on Saturday was a very entertaining game, if you weren't a Man United supporter, because they took a battering for 90 minutes or 94 minutes. Although, as you watched it, the creeping sensation that they were going to somehow steal it, and I think that verb is appropriate, grew and grew until, lo and behold, Mason Mount sneaks in and with an excellent finish, grabs his first goal for United. But it didn't end there. That was in the 95th minute. Brentford, who've been very bad at closing out games, managed to find an equaliser themselves. It was tell us about your reaction to the game. I thought it was pretty entertaining, Tim. But what did you think?
Yeah, it was great. It would have been the absolute epitome of a smash and grab. They hit the woodwork 4 times. They had the Tony goal that was just offside. I thought Brentford were great, actually, considering the position they're in and the pressure they're under. And yes, we know United concede a lot of shots, but not necessarily a high quality of chances.
Right.
But here, it was an avalanche of shots and chances.
Well, here's a great stat. Brentford became just the 3rd side on record since 2008 to have had more than 80 touches inside the opposition box. The other 2 is no surprise. In Manchester City, at home to Southampton in 2019, Man City at home to Norwich in 2020, and next come Brentford at home to Manchester United. It's an embarrassment of a performance, and it was so bad that even Erik ten Hag couldn't straight face this one. He had to own up, didn't he, and say that Brentford were the better side, which is just the understatement of the century. I mean, they deserved to win 4 or 5-0.
Yeah. Well, it felt very much like the performance but certainly from United's point of view, that they put in last season when they did lose 4-0, only somehow, even though they had the 85 touches in Man United's box, even though they had 31 shots, which is more than they've managed in any game for over 7 years. The last time, the previous best, in fact, was in a League Cup tie against AFC Wimbledon. And this was against Man United. So this was the same Man United 11 that had beaten Liverpool in the FA Cup just before the international break. What do we make of? If we weren't sure what to make of that victory, what do we make of this performance?
I don't know. It's carnage every week, one way or the other. I do think they're the most watchable team in the league at the moment. I normally hate watching Man United, but I don't want to miss a Man United game. Incredibly, they still only conceded 40 goals in their 29 games, which is a better record than Villa. I think Onana probably deserves a little bit of praise. He made a fantastic save as well in this game. But yeah, it is expect carnage every single match. The number of shots they concede is astonishing.
Yeah, they're miles away from being considered even a decent Premier League team. They're miles off it, aren't they? Just for me, the gauge of how good a team is often how you are without the ball. The structure of the side. And the structure of the side is among the worst in the division. No doubt about that. It's not a great reflection on Ten Hag. I genuinely think that talent has really got them where they are, rather than good coaching. I just think a coach that's in control of that dressing room finds a way to tighten things up. You can't keep conceding 20 plus shots a game. It's not acceptable for Man United. Surely, even though it's good fun for all of us to watch, it's not a formula that's going to keep him in the job. No chance.
Midweek they face Chelsea, which has a certain thematic unity to that.
It's the banter
pairing.
derby.
It's the what?
The banter derby.
The banter derby, yeah. And they'll be without Varane and Lindelof for that game as well, because they both went out injured as the injury crisis rages on across the division. Whose draw was worse then? Because Man United, they took the lead completely against the run of play, and then Brentford managed to respond with that 98th minute equaliser. Chelsea, meanwhile, twice letting the lead slip at home to a Burnley team who played the majority of the game with just 10 men.
Yeah, this was pretty embarrassing, wasn't it? I think Pochettino was not happy at all with his players. They were lucky as well.
Yeah.
The penalty they got was soft as.
Not only that, but there was a big chance for Burnley right at the death.
Jay Rodriguez, wasn't it? Yeah. Like, Burnley had 18 shots. And they had 10 men for a lot of the game, didn't they? So
Adrian, what's going on?
I don't know. I don't think Pochettino knows. What I will say is that without Cole Palmer, where would Chelsea be? They would be in the bottom half, no doubt about it.
They are in the bottom half.
Are they?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think without him, they'd still be in the bottom half.
Close to the relegation zone then. Look, they're just not a team. They're directionless, aren't they? And again, Pochettino has had enough time, I think, to have found a formula to get that group going. So, yeah, it's an alarming
What would you do with them? Is there a good team there?
Is there a good team there? No, I don't think so.
No?
No, I think...
Really?
Not at the back. I mean,
Okay.
I just look at the defence and I think that they make mistakes every week. I think I'd change a lot of the individuals at the back. I'd get a new goalkeeper. I think, obviously, the midfielders are very talented.
Right.
But the issue that Chelsea have got is that they're almost certainly going to lose the British core of the squad this summer. They're all going to have to be sold to sort of meet with the profit sustainability rules. So yeah, I think who knows what Chelsea's going to look like at the start of next season. But yeah, this team are really poor.
Yeah, what do you do? Is rip it up and start again? New head coach, sign a new team. What's the problem? They're all the problem.
Yeah.
But you can't keep on with that turnover in the summer.
Quote of the weekend, though, from Mauricio Pochettino, who said before the game, if you look at all the data in the table, we should be in 4th position.
What data?
Well, that's the
Where's
question.
the supercomputer have them?
Yeah.
But he turned on the players a little bit after the match and said that they lacked hunger and desire, which is something that Ten Hag did as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's an element of deflection there because both of them will now be really feeling the pressure for the summer because they're not rectifying the problems.
Yeah, for me, every week the defence try and pass out from the back and lose the ball in bad places and give up chances. Every week the striker misses gilt-edged opportunities. And every week that midfield that should be great with Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez and Gallagher and whatnot isn't. It is a strange quandary because Pochettino is a proven manager. He clearly knows the game. He understands how to build winning teams. His teams have always been really hard working and hard to play against. They're in your face, aren't they? Or they used to be. This Chelsea aren't.
All right. Well, Thursday they meet Man United in the lack of hunger and desire derby. Burnley, though, 10-man Burnley, who rescued a point late on with this game, with their manager already sent off, Vincent Kompany, for protesting over the decision to give the red card to Assignon. They're now at -4. -4 from safety, and that margin could come down actually next week if Everton were to get another sizable penalty. They could drop into the bottom 3 and maybe make safety a little bit closer. 3 games without defeat now for the Clarets. Is something happening there?
5 points from 3. Bringing in Muric has been one of the smartest decisions that companies made all season. For James Trafford, who's been called up to the England squad but now left out of Burnley's team. But he looks like a big upgrade from what I've seen. He made again some really, really good saves at the weekend. But he just looks more like a more solid presence who knows what he's doing, bringing the ball out from the back, whereas Trafford constantly just made you feel a bit nervous, I think.
Muric was the goalie that helped them got promoted, remember? Trafford wasn't there last year. Trafford was at Bolton. So I found it a real surprise that he traded in Muric effectively for Trafford. Trafford's just not big enough, actually. Yeah, he hasn't got a presence. He might get that, but he's still a very young goalkeeper. He just looks a little bit weedy. And when those crosses come in the box, other teams have just completely, played on it and surrounded him, and it destroyed his confidence. I think the biggest mistake company has made really was sticking with him too long. It's not just him,
right.
but I think that decision should have been made quite a while ago, really. But yeah, look, there's signs of life there, definitely.
Is it too late? We'll see. What are they doing midweek? Checks notes. They're hosting Wolves. That's on Tuesday, Tim.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that now.
Well, we'll touch on more of the big battle down the bottom next on the Totally Football Show. Championship, even tighter than the top of the Premier League. Top 3 separated by 2 points, Adrian. 2. You went to Bristol-Leicester, which saw Leicester knocked off the top.
Yes.
On Friday.
I did. I went there. Really fascinated to see
Bristol City, I should say. No?
Yeah, Bristol City, who really are mid-table. They've got nothing to play for. Essentially, they could just have a free shot at it. And it was a great performance from them, but from Leicester, incredibly poor.
What's happening?
They've lost their edge. I think that they were so far clear that they had begun coasting, I think mentally. And it saw a drop in standards, and they can't get back to the same level. And now because they're losing games, they've lost 4 of their last 6 now, their confidence is shot. And the way that Leicester play is built all around being confident, receiving the ball on the edge of your box, playing out from the back, fluently. And if you're not confident, it can fall apart quite quickly, and that's what we're seeing from Leicester at the moment. They've still got the talent to turn it around, but they're having a proper panic up. And what was fascinating about this was that they deservedly lost the game, and at the end, the players went over to applaud the supporters, and I would say half of the away end berated the players and the manager rather than applauded them, which I thought was quite a telltale sign of the unrest there. They need to pull together. The fans actually, I think, need to just put that frustration to one side and just fully get behind the team. Because you remember when they won the league at that stadium, the King Power, with those annoying rattles and whatnot.
But it really worked for them.
But it really worked for them, didn't it? Leicester's atmosphere, I've been there a few times this season and last, it's not good. Even though they've been flying high, I think they need to pull together now, because if they do, they can still salvage it.
Well, they're only 2 points off the top, only 1 point off an automatic promotion. A little bit further down, you've got Coventry, who are hosting Cardiff. You're going to go and see Coventry, the FA Cup semi-finalists. They're going to be facing Man United.
I know.
Actually,
I think they'll fancy it, won't they?
Quite fancy them.
There is a chance. There is a possibility that they'll reach the FA Cup final by having 20 plus shots against Manchester United and maybe beating them, and they might face probably Manchester City in the cup final,
right?
And then the next day they'll be in the playoff final,
right? Because Tim, you were talking about this before. They've double booked Wembley.
Yeah. They haven't changed the date yet, have they?
No.
They can't see this iceberg coming ahead of them.
It is a lot. The way that Norwich are playing, Coventry might be hard pushed to get into the playoffs.
Okay.
But they've got a chance, and I'll be at the game against Cardiff. I fully expect them to beat Cardiff. And Norwich have got Leicester.
Yeah.
So they could close the gap. And if they get into the playoffs, Coventry, we've seen what a good cup team they are. They've got a chance of making it to the final.
They are 4 points behind 6th place Norwich, but Coventry have a game in hand. Ooh. All right. Next up for us, the battle not to go to the Championship. which features all your favourites like Brentford, Everton, Forest, Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United. Sheffield United 7 points from staying up now. Burnley, as we mentioned, 4 from safety. Forest and Luton are level on points in 17th and 18th. Forest now on the right side of the dotted line on goal difference. 3 points above the drop are Everton. They have a game in hand as well, but they haven't won in 12 now. And we hear next week there could be more PSR penalty points taken away. And then Brentford, who with that point against Man United, are 5 clear of the drop. Are they going to be okay, the Bees, do you think?
I think so, by virtue of the fact that
so many
really bad teams
right
below them. Yeah, Everton are which are the ones you fear for at the moment.
You fear. Okay, Everton, who were beaten 2-1 by Bournemouth this weekend.
But in shambolic fashion. Yeah. I mean, the dice will be, if you had any air left, you'd be tearing it out. For the 2 goals to come from crosses into the box. So Solanke has a pretty easy header, despite the fact Tarkowski and Branthwaite are in close proximity for one, and then the other one, if people haven't seen it, it's hilariously inept from poor old Seamus Coleman of all people to chest in a cross under no pressure.
But Pickford, I think Pickford put him off.
Do you think so?
Because Pickford charged towards the ball and then retreated. He was in no man's land, and I think it was in his eye line. I'm not defending Coleman completely, but I think he was partially to blame there, even though he won't get the blame, Jordan Pickford. He looked really shaky.
Everton have rallied spectacularly in the last couple of seasons when the chips were down. This time around, though, the fact that they really don't have a goal scorer.
Yeah, so Calvert-Lewin hasn't scored in 22, but he was brought into the team for this game, which shows you how sort of desperate for goals they are. I mean, I know Beto's scored.
Had 2 goals all season.
Yeah, I know he scored here, Beto, from Neto's drop,
right, okay.
Which was, again, pretty calamitous. But, yeah, as Paddy Borland's written in The Athletic at the weekend, it's just the same every single week at the moment. The headline in this piece made me chuckle. It's Everton have become joyless, a Ford Focus in a Premier League of Ferraris. Which sort of sums them up, really. I think they need another points deduction, to be honest, because after the last one, they won 4 games out of 5.
Nice.
And kept 4 clean sheets.
Yeah, they're unlucky.
They don't like being given points. They prefer to have them taken away.
Their performances have been better than results. I think they've created enough chances to get the points, but the finishing's been woeful. They should have had a penalty in this game.
Everton.
Yeah, I mean, Calvert-Lewin just he ducks back behind the defender. It's a good piece of skill. He gets clattered. What I found bizarre is that Michael Oliver was on VAR. No one loves giving a penalty more than Michael Oliver, and he denied them. So yeah, I think they were really hard done by with the goal, with the penalty. But the calamitous winning goal would drive everybody bonkers. But I do think Jordan Pickford's form is a slight concern. I mean, England's goalkeeper situation is bad, isn't it? With Ramsdale not playing, Pope injured, Pickford out form, Trafford being nowhere near ready. Really, it's one of the other ones is injured. Is it Sam Johnson that's out for the rest of the season? Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a big problem for Gareth Southgate.
Yikes! Everton are going to be heading to Newcastle on Tuesday. Let's see. Sheffield United had a 3-3 with Fulham, which was pretty mad as well. Ben Bertrand Diaz putting the Blades in front, then Palhinha with that header, bringing us to the Cottagers' level. But before you know it, the Blades have taken a 3-1 lead, thanks largely to Ollie McBurney. But mostly Bertrand Diaz, no?
Yeah. He's got a strong beard, hasn't he? Strong beard game. And it was a strong performance from Bertrand Diaz. Saw him a lot in the Championship, and he was good fun to watch.
Right.
He's such a sort of wholehearted player. He runs and runs all day long. But he's got a lot of quality as well. And I think there's a player in there that can thrive in a Premier League team. Yeah, maybe stick him in Everton's team. He would probably help them. But yeah, he had a good day. He's not had that many, in fairness.
Would have been better if they hadn't let Fulham back into.
What a goal though from Rodrigo Muniz.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a more confident striker in the Premier League than him at the moment.
No one's scored more Premier League goals since the turn of the year than he has. That's 8 in 8, I think.
I can't believe the improvement, because he really didn't look very good before, did he? He looked a little bit out of his depth, and all of a sudden
Is it a different way that Marco Silva's lining them up, or?
No, I think it's his first run of games because he was always the sub. He was always the sub to Raul Jimenez earlier in the season, and he got injured. I think he'd had only once that he'd played 2 games together, back to back. So it's hard, isn't it, when you just get 20 minutes here and there, and then the starts that you come in for, the team don't play very well, it goes against you. So he had a run, and he knew he'd have a run, and he just looks so confident. That was a brilliant scissor kick, wasn't it? I loved it.
Yeah, very nice indeed. The other game, I think the only other game we haven't touched on, Tim.
Oh, here we go.
Is Nottingham Forest 1, Crystal Palace 1.
I knew it wasn't a wasted journey.
Yay.
This was their post points deduction match. So do you remember Everton with all the boos and the banners and whatever? Yeah, not so much of that at Forest really, because I think they know that they deserved their punishment. So there's only a smattering of boos for the Premier League anthem,
right.
But they still had this big tifo with this kind of pre-war sort of rallying cry about we'll fight to the end and we will overcome, and it was all a bit serious.
Was this a quote from?
I googled it and couldn't pick it out anywhere. I thought it was bizarre, to be honest. But
but anyway, they're not blaming the Premier League.
No, it doesn't seem so. But they are trying to generate what they had under Steve Cooper a year ago, which is this kind of togetherness and this get over the line kind of thing. It was all positivity and tub thumping. But then the game started, and you remember how bad Forest are. I haven't seen them in the flesh this season, but they were awful. They were so bad. They've got these really talented players. Hudson-Odoi, Langer came off the bench, Gio Reyna came off the bench.
Morgan Gibbs-White.
Morgan Gibbs-White as well, obviously Chris Wood, and they just can't string it together as a cohesive attacking unit. It was painful to watch. They've got a moment of magic in them, like we saw for the goal, but otherwise, Nuno can set them up a bit better defensively, but trying to get a tune or a goal out of them, he's
he had a
really
decent.
struggling.
The first 2 or 3 games went better for them, but since then he hasn't had a win.
I feel like I don't know. Palace should have won yesterday. Eze missed a couple of good chances. It shows you the value of a good keeper, because Matt Sells made a couple of really important saves, and obviously we know the problems that Forest have had with keepers. But I feel like it's going to go right down to the wire for them, especially with the points they've had taken off. Their quality just isn't there.
What about Palace? Was there much different about them under Oliver Glasner?
No, really.
It looked to me like Eze was sort of playing quite a bit further forward, a bit closer to Mateta. I know that he linked up great for the goal. He had a couple of great runs, Eze. He's a class player, isn't he?
He was the best player on the pitch by a considerable distance. He really sticks out. There were sometimes he had the ball at his feet, and Forest just looked incapable of getting it off him. He's in such a purple patch. It's such a shame. I know we keep talking about England, but it's a shame for him that there are a couple of players ahead of him, because I think he'd make a real impact for England off the bench in the summer.
He'll get snapped up, won't he? He'll earn Crystal Palace a hefty fee. I'll be staggered if one of the big guns, either in this country or overseas, because I think he could be potentially brilliant, like a Dortmund, or going somewhere in the Bundesliga. The way that he moves with the ball at his feet is, I think it's beautiful to watch. One of my favourite players in the division. I think most of the big guns will be eyeing him up.
Who's your favourite player in the division that doesn't wear the old gold?
Who do I love to watch? That's a great question, Jimbo. Probably James Maddison. I think.
Really?
I love watching Maddison. His touch and his vision. I think he's really underrated. Yeah.
Magnificent. Fulham are going to be Forest's next opponents, while Palace make the trip to Bournemouth on Tuesday. It's a busy day, Bournemouth. You've also got Newcastle, Everton, as mentioned. Burnley face Wolves, and there's that Arsenal, Luton, and Liverpool, Sheffield United games as well. Those aren't actually on the Tuesday, I now notice. But anyway, check local listings for details. And who knows, Adrian, as you say, there'll be twists.
There'll be twists. I don't see a twist. I'm working on that game, Liverpool, Sheffield United.
Oh, yeah? That really would be a twist.
I don't see a twist in that one. I think that Liverpool, if Arsenal have retaken top spot with a win at home to Luton, which you'd expect them to do, then I think it's almost certain that Liverpool will regain it on Thursday night. But yeah, it's going to be fun and games the next few weeks. Literally.
Magnificent. We'll be back on Thursday to review the action thus far on the Totally Football Show, and there will be the European edition on Tuesday as well, getting the boys back in after the international break to round up what's been going on in the league. So do join us for that, listener. For now, it's many thanks to Adrian and Tim, for Daniel, for parking up and chatting a little bit earlier, to Liam and guest producer Jesse in the booth, and, you, listener, most of all you. See you at some time this week, I do hope. And for now, from all of us here, it's goodbye. The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.